Hello out there, everyone. This is Filmtopiacast 3000, Episode 1, Chapter 5, Verse 6. My name is Greg McIver, and with me is
Nikki Boom Boom.
Nikki Boom Boom. Fantastic. And basically, we are here to talk about movies. Plain and simple. Movies that we've seen, movies that we're looking forward to, casting for upcoming movies that we find interesting or horrible.
Things that pissed us off.
Exactly, a little bit of a bitch session here and there, or sometimes we'll talk about things that delight us. So just film, and hence the name Filmtopia Cast 3000. Although, if you're wondering where the 3000 comes in, that is sort of a very garish, obvious tribute to my love of, and to a lesser extent, Nick's love of Mystery Science Theater 3000, which is one of the funniest things that man has ever invented.
Pretty much the official television program of this household, I would say.
Well, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that if you walk into our apartment, there'll be an episode playing. Whatever, it's fun. It's good, clean fun.
It's fun, do it.
Yeah, do it. He's got some stones to mess with us. All right, getting into the meat of this program, Nick and I are now going to talk about some films that we've seen this summer, some that we liked, some that we didn't like, some that we saw separately, and we're just going to go through that. So what's up?
So I'll just say, to start this off, I think that as this year was coming up, you and me had three movies that we were talking about as the three most anticipated things of at least the first half of the year.
Yeah.
And it's interesting kind of how it fell, because we were looking forward to all three of them. A lot of anticipation. And two out of the three of them, I don't know, I would say we kind of broke even here. One of them was great, one of them was not great. And then one of them, kind of mixed bag, right?
Yeah, I guess that's a nice way of putting it, that we broke even. I kind of had my heart shattered a few times. The three that he's talking about, of course, The Avengers, Prometheus, and The Dark Knight Rises were sort of the three that we were looking forward to the most. And you were looking forward to...
I called it at the beginning of the year. I've always been a Marvel kid growing up. I love DC as well, but if we're picking sides here, it's definitely more of a Marvel kid growing up. And so I just knew that out of the three of them, I was excited about all of them, but I knew that The Avengers was going to be the one I was most excited for, and I didn't really have that many doubts that it was going to be as awesome as it was, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was surprised when talking to you about it. You said there were people out there that didn't have a lot of faith in the film because they didn't like Joss Whedon? Or,
yeah, a lot of Whedon hate I found on the internet, and people shut right up as soon as the movie came out, it seems like.
I was going to say, absolutely. I mean, what more can you want from a director? I mean, he knew the comic books. He's written comic books.
He wrote a whole, really... One of the best X-Men storylines in recent years. He was at the helm of.
Okay.
In Astonishing X-Men, and I just don't know what more you want. He's a comic lover, and he's a good director. He's respectable.
He can handle casts of diverse characters, as we've seen in TV with Firefly and in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right.
So.
He works with teams doing super things a lot. So this was a great idea. This was a great pairing, and it just worked out fantastically.
It did work out very well. This was not the movie that I was looking forward to the most, though. I thought this was, out of the three that we're talking about, I thought this was going to be kind of the dumb fun one, where I can just kind of switch my mind off and, enjoy the pretty explosions and the, CGI and the characters wearing the funny costumes. But, surprisingly, this turned out to be my favorite of the three as well.
And then the other two, of course, being did we say already, Prometheus and The Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, Prometheus and The Dark Knight Rises were the other two in that little trio, and for me, Prometheus, that's what I was looking forward to the most, because I grew up watching the Alien films. I'm a big fan of the first three, at least. The third one being my favorite. which I know is, but that's subject
Not
for
a-
another episode.
Not a popular opinion, but
not a very popular opinion.
I'll back you. Well, I can't back you as being my favorite, but it's a quality film.
It is a very quality film. It gets a lot of hate for some reason. I don't know. So yeah, Prometheus. That was going to be my baby. That was going to blow everything out of the water.
Which I will say, that's the best movie trailer I've seen in many years.
Oh.
Like, what a great trailer!
No, the trailer just friggin' knocked you through a wall. It was fantastic. This was going to be a movie filled with horror and adventure and excitement and mystery and intrigue and wonderment, and it had like almost none of that.
And they brought back that horrible noise.
Oh yeah, the which my voice register doesn't even get up. Exactly. Such a fantastic trailer, and God bless him for bringing that little sound effect back.
However, before we get into that,
and then the number 3, of course, The Dark Knight Rises, which I thought was going to be a close second to Prometheus. Again, I figured the Avengers was going to be sort of the dumb fun one. Prometheus was going to be the really profound, intricate, terrifying one, and then The Dark Knight Rises was going to be sort of your thinking man's version of the Avengers, almost, down to earth, gritty, more realistic, dealing with a lot of issues, but still being fantastically entertaining, much like The Dark Knight. And
I would say, I mean, like, I would say that Dark Knight was some dumb fun.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm saying that we broke even on here, because I had a lot of problems with The Dark Knight Rises, but
yeah.
I was still entertained by it.
I guess ultimately I was too. I don't know, man. The more I think about it, walking out of the theater is just like those problems keep coming back to me, man.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to get away from them.
Yeah, and it almost lessens the experience for me. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's quite on the level of Prometheus as far as being like disappointing and flawed incredibly, but it's up there though.
It's got its bruises for sure.
It's definitely close. I don't know, but the Avengers, I mean, that was like, I've said this to so many of my friends, that was like having your cake and getting to eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic action and adventure. Whedon did a fantastic job spacing out all of the characters so they each had their own time and their build-up of character, and it wasn't a jumble. And it just, the action built. There were beats, one scene led to another, and the action built upon itself. And it was just so entertaining. And I walked out of the theater, I was absolutely amazed. I did not think I was going to like it that much.
And what you were saying, you were anticipating it being just dumb fun. And
yeah.
It kind of is, but so what?
Yeah.
It's so much dumb fun, and they set it up so well. They finally did it. This thing I've been dreaming of since I was a kid. Of just like, everyone got their own movie. Except, Hawkeye doesn't use his own movie.
Wow.
Black Widow got her Iron Man 2, which she was featured in.
Yeah.
So whatever. Everyone that needed their own movie got their own movie. You established everything you needed to there, and then they brought them all together for this one big, awesome feature.
And Hawkeye he was in Thor. He did point a bow and arrow at somebody, so that's pretty much, that was his character right there.
That's true.
For all intents and purposes, for what they're doing with him right now, is like the man with the bow. You saw him in Thor, he's like, that man exists. No, it was basically, I think, for a lot of comic book fans, I mean, what Marvel's doing is basically like a dream come true. Like you said,
absolutely.
Each character gets their own film. They are building a universe. This has never really been done before, with comics and film before. Just building an absolute universe, all these movies, and then combined into one huge one, which was, again, you're right, it was dumb fun still, but it was done intelligently, though. It wasn't
dumb fun done intelligently.
Exactly. It wasn't done half-assed, there was a lot of thought and love put into this movie.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Like, a fanatic's love was put into. I'll just say, like, personally, when I saw the first trailer, just that shot of it circling around all of them back to back, I got a little chill up my spine.
Yeah, that's like your money shot right there, absolutely.
I've been waiting for this since I was like 8 years old.
Oh, God.
And it's unfortunate that many of their most notable characters are licensed to other studios right now because ever since that first Iron Man movie, which is also just really well done. One of my favorite superhero movies is that first Iron Man movie.
That's good. It's really good.
And they've just been knocking it out of the park since then, since they decided to just like roll up their sleeves and take it upon themselves to make the movies about their characters as they should be made,
Right.
as opposed to like licensing it out to Fox, who, quite frankly, like say like the first X-Men movie.
Mhm.
It's okay, but like
Yeah. No,
it's kind of half-assed in some ways, and it's rushed in some ways.
It's incredibly rushed,
It was
'cause
actually literally rushed.
he was given no time to make the damn thing, so I give him props for being able to do what he was able to do, with that movie.
He being Bryan Singer. And
Bryan
if
Singer,
you
of
give him
course.
time with the X-Men like they did in X2, then you get another one of the best superhero movies ever made, in my opinion. But
absolutely.
then you try to rush him again, and he says, "Screw you guys, I'm gonna go make Superman," and it turns into X3, which, once again, subject for another.
I was gonna say, yeah, we'll move on to that.
Focus on good things.
Exactly. So, Avengers. What was one of your favorite moments in that movie?
I mean, I love team battles so much, and teamwork in a battle. So I know it's kind of contrived, but like my favorite part of the movie is just when it starts going down in the climax. Everybody's duking it out with the Chitauri, and you get almost team supers happening in the middle of the fight. You get Iron Man blasting Cap's shield and Cap deflecting all the lasers back at everybody. You get that great moment of Thor and Hulk bashing the giant ship as it goes into Grand Central Station. And since we had just moved to the city not too long before,
right,
and like being able to recognize these places quite well.
That's one of the things I love about living
seeing
here in
Midtown get destroyed in a superhero fight. That's like you see it in so many Marvel comics, and they featured it.
I was expecting like a laser blast to hit Midtown Comics and like cut to a bunch of comic book geeks wearing like Superman and Green Lantern shirts and like close up on one of their faces and one of them tears drips down their
Or maybe the guy next to him has been like, "I've been ready for this. I've been preparing my whole life for this moment."
Knowing Whedon, I wouldn't have been surprised if something like that had been included, because the man does like his humor. He's got a very interesting style.
Oh, and that was the other thing. That was another really entertaining, awesome thing about the Avengers, is how funny it was in some parts.
Oh, totally. The humor works 100% of the time. These big dumb movies, a lot of them fail for me. The Transformers being a prime example is the fact that they're not funny. They're trying to be funny. They try to be funny throughout the whole thing, and it's not. It's not funny at all. Not one bit. And this just...
like, lowest common denominator humor. Like,
oh my god.
Optimus Prime being like, "My bad, dog."
Exactly. Or like a Transformer, he pees on John Turturro's character. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, but for every joke in this, was 100% on the money, and... no, it was just fantastic. It was a cut above the rest of your big summer movies, and I have to say, my favorite part was the Hulk versus Thor moment in the movie. Spoilers, by the way. The Hulk versus Thor moment. That's when he stops the Hulk's fist, and he's like, "We're not your enemies, Dr. Banner." I was like, that's the stuff that comic books are made of. That's the stuff that. And the things that people that are fans of these comics have been dreaming about seeing for a long time. Who would win in a fight, Thor or the Hulk, And it was just, fantastic,
Yeah, it's pretty classic rivalry, and just that it showcased what a wild card the Hulk is,
Oh, totally.
We want to think of him as a hero, but the truth is he could go berserk at any moment.
Yeah.
And it happens at the absolute worst time, which is great.
Oh, absolutely.
It really sets up Act 3 of the movie really nicely, because Hulk going nuts and the assault on the SHIELD helicarrier, once again, spoiler alert, I guess, but if you haven't seen the Avengers right now, I pity you.
Yeah.
And just like the fallout from that, and how the group kind of gets disbanded for a moment, sets up Act 3 so nicely, when they all have to come together again.
This movie paid off so well. I was never really worried about it, although every trailer always seemed to feature them sitting around a table and Nick Fury saying a variation of, "What are you prepared to do?" And it's called The Avengers. We had an idea, and it's just like, God almighty, is there 45 minutes of this movie just going to be them sitting at a table and Nick Fury lecturing them? But it wasn't that Like, and then Nick was saying, you know, it was like each scene sort of lent itself upon to the next scene. It built up to things, you know. It wasn't just action for the sake of being action. Like, oh, well, I'm sure the audience is bored. Let's stick in an action scene, you know, to wake them up. It's like, no, there's a reason that this is happening, and it just worked out so well.
And that brings up another thing that I think was really Whedon utilized a particular character in a really great way. This is a serious spoiler alert. Like, close your ears if you haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
Close them right now. So, Agent Coulson.
Oh, God.
I mean, just that you had him as this through-line connection. He was in Thor, and he was in both of the Iron Man movies. Yep. And was he in the Hulk? I don't think he was in the Hulk.
No, they used RDJ as the tie-in at the end of the Hulk to tie that into the
RDJ
universe.
Yes. But just that you had him as this through-line connection in a few of these other movies. He was just a really fun, likable character ever since his appearance in Iron Man. Everybody just loved him, and when Loki kills him, and it's a little bit cheap, but it was so fitting. Like, we need to give them something to avenge.
Exactly.
Just a really great payoff and a really good like Rambo moment of like, they killed my friend. You know, like it just worked so well that's the person that was the sacrifice, and
it really raised the stakes because, you know, obviously it's important to save New York City. New York City should always be saved if it's under attack by aliens or Chitauri or Thanos. Spoiler. But at the same time...
You can't say spoiler after you spoil it.
I just didn't I? You can't tell me what to do. Get out. I'm kidding. Basically, you needed some stakes, and I don't mean the juicy kind that you season with salt and pepper. No, you needed something to really latch on to, you know, really, you want to see them defeat Loki. And not just because, okay, he's attacking the city. We've all seen about 10 billion movies where a city or a town or a village is under attack and you gotta save it. That's all well and good, but, you know, that personal touch really added another level to it, and it made the movie that much more entertaining. And, you know, it was much more satisfying in the end when they did finally bring him to justice. I guess eventually Asgardian justice, but we'll find that out in Thor 2 Electric Boogaloo, or I don't remember what it's called. What is it?
It's
the Dark
Realm?
The Dark Realm, okay.
Maybe?
Oh, I'm looking
They
forward
fight
to it.
night elves.
Oh, okay, good.
I know that much.
Well, that's good. You know, you don't see a lot.
BC's.
Hey, BC from us. Fantastic. So Thor is at some point going to get violated. Okay. You know what? Moving on from the Avengers. It's a fantastic movie. We both agree that, you know, it was just great fun, really well done. Now let's move on to something that wasn't.
Yeah, let's get real about Prometheus for a moment
Oh,
here. And
God.
I think the level of nerd rage that happened over this movie. We're not alone, I think.
No,
in
we're not.
being very disappointed. Let's start off with the good things, though. I mean,
okay, yes, that's very fair. That's very fair.
There are some really good performances in the movie.
Yes.
I think a lot of the casting works very well. Not all of it.
No.
But a lot of it does. I know it's something said a lot, but I will agree. I really like Fassbender there as David.
He's very entertaining to watch in that role. Yes.
You gotta love Noomi Rapace. She's just lovable.
She's cute.
And she made a good Ripley type. So
She did.
word. Not just the special effects, which were of course amazing.
Yeah.
Probably some of the best of the year. Just somebody brought this up in its defense, and I'll agree with this. Really great world building.
Yes.
Makes you really feel like you're in this cool alien place, and there's this air of mystery, and which I think is palpable even from just the trailer. That you really feel like you're in this place making discoveries with these people, and that's all fantastic.
He built a very nice tone and atmosphere initially, and he did draw you into that world very well. And, you know, Ridley Scott is a great director, definitely a great visual director, so the first half was fantastic, you know.
Now, what didn't work? Where should we start here?
Oh my God in heaven, what a long list. I mean, we can nitpick, and we might just do that. Let's see. for me, my biggest problem with it is spoiler. Okay, so I think it's agreed upon by most people that the best scene in the movie is the self-surgery scene.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Fantastic scene. It's intense. It's horrifying. You know, it's like the movie has really ramped up the tension at this point. You're wondering, oh my God, what's going to happen next? We've just seen this woman cut her own flesh and pull out a squid alien thing. Anything could happen in this movie now.
Yeah.
And then what do they choose to follow that scene up with? The revelation that Wayland, the old man, was on the ship the entire time.
Which is like, who cares?
Okay, so he was on the ship. Big deal. He paid for it. Why shouldn't he be on the ship, you know? Why would he not be on the ship? Was he afraid that people weren't going to want to sign on because, oh, yeah, there's an old man on board. I'm not going to go on this mission. That's so stupid to follow up your intense scene with that. And like, I was here the entire time. Oh, and I'm Charlize Theron's father.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun. It was like, oh.
And my biggest problem with that is, and this happened a few times in the movie, especially as the shit was hitting the fan towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know we've gushed enough over the Avengers, but one other great thing about it was just character motivation, consistency.
Mm-hmm.
All made sense.
Yes.
If a character did something, it was set up by, like, their backstory or, like, prior motivations or things that happened to them before, and we could see it. Here, in Prometheus, that was one of my biggest things with the whole movie, was just, like, that just wasn't happening.
No. No, not at all.
And when it was happening, it was some really cheap, like, we find out that Noomi Rapace's character, Shaw, is that her name?
Yeah,
Ellen
Shaw.
Shaw, maybe?
I don't remember the first name.
Well, anyway,
but,
Shaw.
Yeah, Shaw. Let's just call her Shaw.
Lisbeth Salander there. She,
Nice.
we find out she's barren in the scene right before that's relevant.
Yes.
That is cheap, shitty writing.
How convenient.
That's not good writing.
No.
Here's what's also not good writing. As Greg just said, I would say the best scene in the movie is where she has to cut the alien out of herself, right? The tentacle monster.
Yep.
And then she goes in and sees that Guy Pearce is still alive.
Yep.
But rather than go like, hey guys, you will not believe what just happened. I cut an alien out of myself. I honestly don't know how I'm walking around. It's pretty much just out of panic and adrenaline that I made it into this room. You will not believe there's a live alien in there. No. It just focuses on the fact that Guy Pearce is alive.
Yeah, he's on the ship, and let's go on a field trip now because we have to go out and find this alien life. Guys, there's alien life in that other room. We don't have to put on spacesuits. We'll just walk down the hall, and there it is.
It might be a good idea to deal with this first.
I was going to say, it might want to kill us later on. I don't know. No. Just going out onto the planet is more important, I guess. Or maybe she just forgot to tell them. I don't know.
Just the fact that she didn't even just freak out about it to them. Like, if that was me, the next human being that I saw, I would completely lose my shit about what I just did in that room.
Exactly.
Or just pass out on them, you know? Like, I mean, I wouldn't, because I'm a dude and I'm tough.
Right. Of course.
But that's my problem. And there was another instance of this where the captain, played by Stringer Bell there.
Yeah, good old Stringer Bell.
Played by Heimdall there.
Nice.
The captain, he just sees his crew get decimated by these zombie things.
Yes.
That, like, basically some members of the crew get zombified and come back. They get zombified by the black goo and they come back and attack the ship.
Sometimes the black goo will impregnate you. Other times it will turn you into a zombie. Other times it'll burn your face off. Pretty much whatever the writer needs it to do at that given moment, it will do.
It is a capricious substance. And in this instance, it makes crew members come back and attack the rest of the crew. And Idris Elba sees a lot of his crew members just killed. And then there's a scene where he and Noomi Rapace meet up and talk, and they don't talk about that.
Nope.
It's like you're not gonna spill your guts about how you just watched half your crew die, and you're not gonna spill your guts about all the alien, like cutting the alien out of yourself, or
no.
I don't even remember what they talked about. I was just so like aghast that they weren't addressing those things. I think they were mostly just going like,
this is good coffee. Yeah, it is pretty good to see you going out on that alien planet.
They were kind of waxing philosophical about their mission. And,
I guess.
But that's not the immediate concern, is my point. It's there are mundane matters to consider before we get all like starry-eyed and
this whole movie is
hazy.
waxing philosophical about everything. It's, everyone, the defenders of the movie and the makers of the movie have said, no, this is a really deep and important movie because it deals with where we come from and issues of evolution. Okay, yes, it does talk about that. It doesn't do anything with it, though. The actual ideas behind this movie are asinine. So this big, chunky, white alien dude disintegrates himself and allows his DNA to flow through the waters of the planet Earth, and this is basically the beginning of all life on Earth, which I guess even means dinosaurs.
I guess, although...
Or is the movie presupposing that dinosaurs are myths, like a lot of, religious fanatics would have you believe?
I don't know, yeah, it seems like there's this weird creationist vibe about things in the movie, because,
I guess.
They cut a scene out where one of the white aliens was going to be Jesus, right?
Yeah, Jesus was supposed to make a cameo in this film. Basically, that was sort of like the tipping point as to why they wanted to get rid of humans.
That's when they gave up on us, is when we killed their celestial messenger.
Exactly, and they're like, okay, that's why we're going to have to get rid of you.
Which, I'm not a very good Christian, but as a Christian, I will point out, seems like quite against the notion of what... Jesus did that to save us, not to, I'm not trying to push any Christian doctrine here. I'm just saying, that doesn't make sense, is what I'm saying here.
Well, if they had
because Ridley Scott, I guess, would have us believe that we doomed ourselves by doing that, whereas, from the typical Christian point of view, it's the opposite of that. Or, it's not the opposite of that, but that's not the point, is what I'm saying.
Their plan to get rid of humans is the absolute most convoluted plan I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
So, instead of just sending a ship to the planet and getting rid of them that way, just park your ships over civilization and dump a whole bunch of black goo on them and then just sail on your way. Instead, they draw cave maps. That will direct them not to the alien people's homeworld, but I guess to their weapons depot planet. And then just wait for thousands of years for them to eventually develop the technology and hopefully figure out that these cave paintings are actually pointing in the direction of the depot, because that was never a sure bet that was going to happen. So... these guys are very patient. I guess whatever humanity did to insult them, or was definitely enough to make them angry enough. Okay, we got to kill you now. We'll get around to it though. We're fine. We're not in that big of a hurry. Just it's like whenever you get here, man. Yeah, just come on over. We'll kill you whenever you get here. It's no problem at all.
Speaking of speaking of convoluted, we've discussed many times about, I understand that this is not exactly an alien movie,
yes,
quote unquote.
Yes.
But it seems that the recipe to make a xenomorph, it seems pretty complicated.
Wow. Okay.
Let's run through it. What do you have to do to make your own xenomorph?
All right, grab a pen and paper, guys. If you ever want to make your own xenomorph, this is pretty much what you have to do. Okay, so you got to get a hold of some black goo.
Black goo, check.
Okay, infect a gentleman with it. Have that gentleman have sex with and impregnate a woman.
Who maybe has to be barren. We're not sure.
Maybe has to be barren. We're not sure. That might just be like a little bit of seasoning. We're not really sure. But impregnate a woman. That woman will then either give birth or have a giant squid monster removed from her.
Either way
works fine. Squid monster eventually grows up. Then what you have to do is you have to lead one of those alien guys. The engineers have to lead one of them over to the giant squid thing, have him get face-hugged by it, impregnated by it, then a proto-xenomorph will then pop out of the engineer, and then from there, I'm not quite sure what the steps are. Either that is going to lay eggs, and then
So that's step 1, and then step 2 is question mark, step 3 is profit.
Pretty much. Maybe we'll find out in the sequel. It's just, that is a really specific set of circumstances that apparently actually happened before. Right. Because when they go into the cave, there's a statue of the xenomorph there. They know what this thing is. It exists, or it did exist. I'm amazed by that. It must do this a lot with a lot of civilizations. It just must go wrong all the time.
If I'm playing devil's advocate for a moment. I guess there's an implication that that's the evil destroyer thing that just manifests somehow in opposition to the engineers. Just if I'm going to Crazy Town and playing devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay. Yeah.
But then I just don't understand. Like it is a really strange and specific recipe for that.
Yes.
And it's like these things are all over the place though, or at least they're at least on one other planet because this is not the same planet as Alien. Right?
No, this is a different planet. This is not LV4. Whatever. This is a different LV4. As an Alien fan, I'm actually shocked that I don't remember the specific numbers. But yes, this is a different planet. This is not the planet that Ripley and the Nostromo set down on in the original Alien. It's not the planet where the battle takes place in Aliens. This is someplace completely different. So either there's another weapons depot planet, or Shaw. I guess we're supposed to presuppose that she put on one of the engineers' pilot suits and then flew towards the home planet and then I guess crashed, or that proto-xenomorph that popped out of the engineer somehow took some flying lessons and then hopped into a ship of its own and was like, I'm coming after you, Shaw, and then crash landed and then in its dying moments laid a million eggs, and then which that's one hell of a way to go. So I don't know. There are talks of a sequel. I will still see it because this movie definitely raised a lot of questions, and again, people are like, "Well, no, but that's the whole mystery of life. Is there are no answers?" Yeah, but that doesn't make for a good movie, though. For God's sakes,
I feel like the defenders of this movie who jump back on a lot of the philosophy, the high-minded philosophical aspects of it, and they're there. It's not that they're not there. I mean, even just in the title Prometheus, which is this like life-giving figure, it's like I get a lot of it, you know, but
well, yeah, they're there, but you have to do something.
You need to do something, and it's like there's a anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay,
and it employs a lot of themes from Judeo-Christian sources and kind of treats them as kind of like thematic icing, or I guess it would be cake if it's thematic, and then like use some of their conventions as an icing, like things exploding in the shape of crosses and references to angels and the Dead Sea Scrolls that appear as enemies in the show. And the point is that real hardcore fans of the show seem to treat it like it's the Bible. When it's just like, no, it's just inspired by things from the Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I feel like that's the same with Prometheus fans. It's like, it's cool that it took some inspiration from some mythological sources, from some Christian sources, and whatever. That's cool that you've like woven that into the structure of your story.
Right.
That doesn't make it the Bible, though. Like,
no, it's certainly...
You can't treat it like a sacred cow just because it has a little bit of sacred hamburger meat in there.
Yeah. Prometheus is definitely not the Bible.
No.
So, huge disappointment. This was the movie that I've been waiting for, 20-something years for, because finally we were going to learn what the hell that space jockey was. And we kind of do, and we kind of don't. So, it's very frustrating. I think we should, because we could talk about this movie for...
Yeah, I got more, but let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to a different topic, and that topic is The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, where do we begin with the old Dark Knight Rises? I think we were both looking forward to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the first two.
The first two were fantastic.
And I was down for more. And
yeah, I mean, the Dark Knight was just such an entertaining film, and it really set the bar pretty high, at least for Batman films, and we were all expecting Christopher Nolan to top it, and I don't know if he did.
No, I would say this is the weakest of the three, and I say that still sticking to my guns on, like, I enjoyed this. But it's the weakest of the three, like, no question.
There's just so many problems with this movie, and a lot of people say that, well, you can. Every movie has plot holes, and you can overlook them as long as the movie is entertaining enough. And that's the thing. I think the movie falters in that sometimes. There are some entertaining scenes in it, but there's just too many problems in it for me. It's too many questions, as the Riddler might have said in Batman Forever. It was. I don't know. Where do we even begin on this?
I mean, it's not like it's not usually a character thing, which I guess that's my my biggest indicator I look at in a movie is if like character, or in anything really, if character motivation is consistent and believable and well developed. And fortunately we had 2 movies behind this.
Yeah.
And most of our major players are developed just fine.
Yeah, he built up a lot of credit with the first 2 movies,
sure.
So we were on board for the ride.
And the new players that were introduced, John Blake and Miranda Tate and Catwoman there, and Bane, of course.
Of course, yes.
All sufficiently developed for me. I didn't have a problem with any of that. Most of my problems were with like mundane. All right, you've showed me this. Now this doesn't make sense. For example, here. So first 2 off the bat for me, we see that and obviously if you haven't seen this movie yet, we're gonna spoil things.
Oh,
so,
totally. Yeah, buckle up.
At this point, that's kind of a given. But okay. At the beginning of the movie, we see that Bruce Wayne has been crippled slightly by his experience with falling.
He gave Harvey Dent a football tackle, and he got bruised up.
So we see that he's kind of the use of his leg, and I think one of his arms is impaired. And so when he decides to go be Batman again, he gets this like super brace that allows him to kick through walls, and it's like, oh cool. But then later in the movie, when he's like captured, his leg's just fine. I mean, does he still just have that throughout the movie? Like, why did they let him keep that?
I guess it got better, or I don't know, when that old guy pushed his spine back in, it magically corrected the leg problem as well. Right. That's definitely how you fix somebody with major spinal injuries. You just, let me just push that back in for you, buddy.
Just shove that back in.
I don't know.
And it's like, okay, so that one's a bit of a nitpick. How about this, though?
Okay.
So, when we first see him put on the cape and cowl, he's Batman, he's in action again.
Of course.
The thing that he's trying to shut down is Bane and his cronies are messing with the stock market in Gotham. And they're going in and they're taking the fingerprints that Selina Kyle has lifted, Bruce Wayne's fingerprints, to make a transaction.
Okay.
And then the very next day, after Batman fails to stop them.
Which I'll get into that after you get finished with your point.
I know you have a thing with that. So the very next day after Batman fails to stop this daring raid on the stock market, Bruce Wayne loses all of his money in a a bad stock transaction.
Which nobody questions.
Nobody questions that. As Batman, he doesn't go like, man, I have to clear my name and get my money back. Everybody just moves on and accepts that, and is like, oh, I guess I'm broke now. And it's like, to him, I'm like, why don't you do something about that? And to the rest of the world, I'm like, hello, like, don't you think that that people messing with the stock market might have had something to do with these like grievous transactions taking place on that day?
I'm sure that's merely a coincidence.
You just let that happen? Like everybody's fine with that.
Doesn't his power get shut off like the day?
Like immediately.
Oh, come on, you're telling me this...
As he's sexing up Marion Cotillard.
Yeah, are you telling me what, the man doesn't have like $200 in his wallet that he can just send to the power company really quickly? Oh, we heard he's broke, shut it down! And it's like, God, maybe he'll get another job, calm down. Calm down, have some dip.
So that's an example of some of the like mundane plot holes where I'm just like, that doesn't work for me. Like, that takes me out of the action that doesn't make sense.
And then speaking of action, some of the action took me out of the action. Like in that scene that you were talking about, Bane and his cronies take over the stock market. They cause havoc. The police show up. Batman shows up. There's like a chase on motorcycles and stuff. One of the cronies throws down a laptop that he's been using to download this program into the stock market, which I guess will make Bruce Wayne lose all of his money. So Batman sees the laptop on the ground. He stops his bike, he picks it up, and then I swear to God, he stares at it for a good 10 minutes. He sees on the screen that it says, download complete. And he just stares at it. And he just keeps staring. I thought he was going to start crying for a second, because he looked so confused by it. And after, again, about 10 minutes of him just staring at it, he notices the police, finally bearing down on him. And he kind of looks up and he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I should probably... And he just slowly gets back on his bike and rides away. And I'm like, that's what? How is that an exciting moment right there?
And all the while, the epic music is still in the
oh yeah,
background.
dun, you know, and it's just him standing there staring like, I thought he was gonna go all 2001 ape at the beginning of it and just start whacking it with like a batarang or something like, you know, just like, what is this? It was just, I don't know, it was one of many things. Alfred, good old Alfred, just his motivation seems to change with every movie. The first one, you know, he didn't really care for the idea of, you know, Bruce Wayne being Batman. He's just like, you're playing games with your family's name. I don't want you running around doing this dangerous thing. It's not the best Michael Caine impersonation, but it's what I've got to work with. The second one, Dark Knight, Bruce Wayne actually wants to give it up, and he's like, no, sir, you must endure. You must take the punishment for the good of the city. You have to keep doing what you're doing. And then this third one, Batman's like, I gotta get back into the game. He's like, no, sir, no, I don't want to see you hurt. It's like, what, it was okay for him to get hurt a couple of years ago, but now, what? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe the events of The Dark Knight made Alfred realize just how vulnerable he was. I don't know, but he cries a lot, and then he gets fired, and so he's kind of out of the movie, which I thought was a little weird. It didn't bother me as much as other things. The biggest problem with the movie being towards the very end with the revelation of...
Big spoiler here.
Very big spoiler here.
And this is a big problem of mine as well, I'll say.
Yeah, I think we both have problems with this. The revelation that Miranda Tate is actually Talia al Ghul. So,
which, if you're a comics fan at all,
yeah,
you saw the casting, you were like, oh cool, Robin and Talia al Ghul are in the movie. That's cool. Why are they calling them that? Why are they calling them John Blake and Miranda Tate? That's weird.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was...
And you're just waiting the whole time for Miranda Tate to, like, turn into Talia. Which happened at a time that, it just is... It really undercuts a lot of the good things about the movie.
Happened in the last 10 minutes of the film. So basically... anything and everything that Bane has done previously to, like, build himself up as this master villain.
Which they did really well. Like, they made... Like, Tom Hardy was great.
Yeah, he was very good.
They did a really great job of making it seem that Bane was every bit Batman's equal mentally and physically, which he should be from the comics. I know a lot of people thought that he was going to be like in the comics, where he had the venom to, like, pump himself up. I was fine that he didn't have that.
I didn't mind that either.
I know it's Nolan, and he has this, like, gritty, realistic take on it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Know? But so they built up Bane to be this, like, great villain, and then it's revealed, like, oh no, he's just the pet dog of Talia.
And that would have been fine if you had done that
too.
earlier in the movie and maybe seen the two of them working together. You know, really establish Talia as a villain of this movie. Give us a reason as to why she is the head of the League of Shadows, you know.
Right.
Show us why she wields this power. Don't give us a revelation 10 minutes, with 10 minutes left to go in the film, and then 2 minutes after she reveals herself, Batman shoots her and she dies.
Which, that's another huge problem with this movie. You've spent 2 movies building up, really, really driving into our heads the craziest thing about Batman, which is true both in the movies and the comics.
Yeah.
That Batman does not kill people.
No.
Even if it's the Joker, who you absolutely should kill the Joker. That's the first person, like, if the Punisher was in DC, like, that's the first person the Punisher would go after is the Joker, because he's this homicidal maniac, and if you leave him alone, you can't reason with him, he's just going to kill more people, and Batman still doesn't kill him, still didn't kill him in The Dark Knight, despite it all. But in this movie, Batman's like,
And I was like, well, I'll go ahead and I'll kill Talia. I'll shoot these people over here. Well, hell, even in The Dark Knight, he killed Harvey Dent. I was like, what? Well, I mean, I know that was like a kind of a last-minute thing, but what, he didn't have like a batarang that he could just knock the gun out of his hand? I don't know, Batman, sort of at the end of The Dark Knight, and then throughout this movie, just got really lazy, because he just flies around in his little plane most of the time, because the brilliant plan of the cops is to basically run in a straight line at the bad guys. Don't position yourself throughout the city, in sniper positions or anything like that. Just run at them yelling, and that should scare them away. And run at tanks, for the love of God. Tanks are being pointed at the cops, and they still are like, Braveheart charge! And then Batman swoops in, shoots at one of the guns on one of the tanks for about 3 seconds.
And then he's like, I've done my part.
Yep, and then flies away. A, it didn't even look like he did anything to that gun, and B, well, what about the 5 other tanks that are there that are still pointing their guns at this wall of cops? that are about to get slaughtered. I don't know. It was laziness, and
I got the impression that the cops didn't have guns at that point. Like they'd been
even if they didn't have
but
guns,
there's still better ways to go about it.
With a better damn plan than just I'm gonna run at you, and hopefully my Confederate army yell will scare you away. I don't know.
Jumping back to the Talia thing real quick.
Yeah.
I think I agree with what you're saying. If they had made that reveal a little bit earlier in the movie, basically, if they'd made that reveal around the same point in the movie as the Ra's al Ghul reveal was in Batman Begins, and you had more time to play with him as if you had more time to feature Talia as the main villain of this piece, which once again it was so obvious. It's like, listen, you've cast this woman as the Wraith in Inception. We know you like her as a femme fatale. I know she's cute and you want to trust her, but obviously don't trust her. So it's like, obviously this is Talia al Ghul. It's not that big of a secret or a reveal. Just like give it to us earlier, because as you said, she's the head of the League of Shadows at this point.
Right.
She should be able to kick the shit out of Batman, or at least fight him on equal ground.
Yes.
She's a ninja. But all she does is, like, drive a truck and get shot up.
She drives a truck. She becomes Marion Ravenwood from the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, except she gets shot in this, and Marion didn't get shot in that one. But, yeah, no, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic, and there are some defenders of this. But, no, she was in the movie. She was romancing him, and she was planting the seeds of destruction. I'm like, okay, that's all well and good, but I don't know. I needed more. I needed more for that to be entertaining.
I'm fine with all that. It's just like, it's really the reveal. It's a poorly executed reveal.
Because you know what? Not everybody got the fact that she was going to be Talia al Ghul.
I guess so.
We did, because we know the comics and the animated series. There are a lot of people out there that do not have knowledge of the comics. They do not have knowledge of the animated series. There are some people out there that did not see that coming. And to those people, I don't think that's going to be enough. Just because earlier in the film she said, in order for humanity to overcome, sometimes you have to get rid of, or something like that.
Yeah, restoring balance to the world.
Restoring balance to the world, yeah. We heard that, we were just like, Talia. But, to somebody that doesn't know the comics or the animated series, they're not going to get that at all. So it was too little too late. It was sloppy. It was just very sloppy.
And here's another piece of lazy writing, I feel like, is when you tell the audience something to elicit a reaction, and there's no other reason for it to be said. So, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, well, once again, spoiler. Towards the very end of the movie, a nuke is going to go off in Gotham, blow it all up, and Batman courageously puts the nuke on his bat plane, just the bat, and flies over the city to blow it up. And there is a question asked of him. Catwoman basically goes, "Oh, good. Well, you can eject and put it on autopilot." And he goes, "There's no autopilot," which was established earlier in the movie that there's no autopilot on this thing.
Yeah, good job, movie.
Right. And so he blows. We think that he blows up over the water, and then it's revealed at the very end that as Lucius Fox is examining the bat, the wreckage of it, I guess. That Bruce Wayne installed autopilot in the bat. So why did he say that? He only said that to make us think that he was dead then. To make not even to make Selena Kyle or any of them think that, to make the audience, that's the only reason he would say that.
Right.
Is to make the audience think that.
Because they all knew he was Bruce Wayne at that point, right?
Everyone knew at that point.
Everyone
I think the only one that didn't is Jim Gordon, and he told him as he was taking off.
Right beforehand. So, it was for the sake of creating the tension, because, couldn't have you just ejected and then, walkie-talkie them or rated them, like, "Hey, guys, I made it out okay."
Yeah.
But it's for the sake of, I guess he needed a head start to get to, where was he? Like, Italy, or someplace like that. My final beef with the movie, it's not my final beef, but it's the last one that I'll talk about here, because we are running a little long this episode, is good old Alfred. He kind of deserved to be fired. You know why? Because he gave away the ending of the movie 10 minutes into the movie. He tells Bruce Wayne a little story. He's like, "I used to have this dream that I would go to Italy, because I used to vacation to Italy one time every year, and I would see you sitting in a cafe with a woman across the way. You would look at me, I would look at you, we would acknowledge each other, but you would go on with your life. That's the dream that I have for you." Jeez. I wonder how the movie is going to end now. Thank you so much, Alfred, for ruining the ending of the movie. Seriously, You might as well have just put up a billboard advertising exactly how that movie was going to end. And for me, that undercut so much tension because now there wasn't a question anymore, is Batman going to die? Because that seemed like, going into this movie, that was a very valid option, and it could have happened.
He made no secret that this was going to be the last of the trilogy.
He absolutely made no secret.
The last of the trilogy. That this was going to be the last Batman movie that he
did. Exactly. There was absolutely no reason why he shouldn't have killed Batman off. All the posters say the legend ends, but apparently it doesn't end. It gets continued by a young rookie cop with absolutely no experience who had just tossed away his badge a day before, basically saying, I don't want to defend the city anymore, and then Batman calls upon him to defend the city.
Good luck with the Joker.
Yeah, good luck with the Joker. He's still running around. I don't care what anybody says.
Just to end on a positive note here. A couple things I really did enjoy about the movie. The Bat bike in this is cool as shit. That's like
the Bat bike is very cool.
That's the coolest fantasy motorcycle since Akira, I think, since Kaneda's bike.
Kaneda?
Kaneda. Tetsuo! So that was cool. The bike with the spinning wheels.
Yeah.
That was great.
That's always fun.
I was pleasantly surprised with Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. I was a little shaky about it.
She was good.
She was very good.
She did.
I don't think that they had as good a relationship as Keaton Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. Even though I think this is a better movie than Batman Returns. I will say.
Well, yeah. In a lot of ways it is, and in some ways it isn't. That's a whole other bag of little goodies that we can get into another episode.
Right. But she was very good. She was a very good Selena Kyle.
She was fantastic. No, she was funny. She handled the action very well. It didn't look laughable whenever she tried to fight. Like, oh look, Disney princess is trying to turn into a martial artist. Like, it looked believable. And she was very entertaining. She did kind of steal the show whenever she was on screen. So.
And last really good thing I'll say about it. You gotta love that Scarecrow cameo as the judge of the kangaroo court.
Of course, yeah.
And the exile and death option are the exact same option.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a really good. That's a really cool. Really creepy, cool execution method too.
Oh, totally.
Like, walk your ass out on this thin ice.
Mm-hmm. No, it's always.
Does anybody ever make it?
Yeah, funk. No, it's always good to see Jonathan Crane again, because I really loved him in Batman Begins as the Scarecrow. I thought he was great. I mean, they brought him back in a little bit of a cameo in The Dark Knight, which is, I'm fine with that, and I think you've even said before, it's good to see your hero taking down a low-level villain.
Yeah, I wish we got more of that in some contemporary superhero movies, is like, for example, in Spider-Man 3, when I heard Sandman was going to be in it, I really wish he wasn't the focus of the movie. Sandman is like your opening James Bond action scene. Spider-Man should take down the Sandman in a daring bank robbery or something, and then the rest of the movie could be devoted to something else entirely.
Absolutely.
There are plenty of people in Batman and Spider-Man and many other superheroes, rogues galleries, that can fill that role of just like, they're not that deep. They're a criminal that happens to have acquired superpowers, and now they're going to do some super crime. Let's watch Spider-Man kick their ass.
Absolutely, and I always thought that was a nice touch. Bringing Crane back in every movie. It's just like, hey, he's still there. He's still around. He's maybe not as big of a threat as he was in the first one, but he is still a threat. That exists. It's almost a reason as to why you still kind of need Batman, because you need somebody to keep this kind of threat down. So,
and because Batman's dealt with him before, it's so much more believable that it's just like, oh, I'm prepared for you. I know exactly what to do with you.
Dodge the gas. It's basically Batman defeats the Scarecrow the same way every single time, whether it be in the animated series, in the movies, or in the comics, is somehow manages to avoid the gas, then points the gas back at the Scarecrow. Scarecrow starts freaking out on his own fear toxin, ends up getting locked in Arkham Asylum, cackling and being like, this is
a little bit crazier each time.
A little bit crazier each time, so... No, you're right. Crane's cameo in this movie was very enjoyable. I agree with those points. Those were very nice. I liked Bane, too, before they ruined his character. I thought Tom Hardy did a really good job. The physicalization of him was fantastic. There's just so many more plot holes and inconsistencies that we can go into with this movie. Unfortunately, we're running a little long this episode, but we did kind of cover the big three.
Those are our big three.
Those are the big three that we were all really looking forward to. We're satisfied with one, Not so much with another, and just hugely disappointed with
With the third,
the
with
third. Yeah,
Prometheus.
so it was a very wishy-washy summer for us, but there were a lot of other movies out there that we did see, and we're going to cover some of those in our next episode, episode 2. We'll talk about some of the movies that we've all seen as well together, as well as we've seen outside of each other's company, and we'll compare and contrast what we liked and what we didn't like. So.
Look forward to that.
Exactly. Look forward to that. That's not a request. Merely kidding, of course. So this has been Greg McIver.
Nikki Boom Boom.
We are signing off. Thank you for joining us, and tune in for the next episode. We will see you there.